live. Gosh, if you tune into Hotlou Happy Hour for the awkward beginnings, obviously these solo shows have been a special treat for you. But yesterday's show, at least one loyal lunatic by the name of Jesus Caballero agreed that it was really the best start of the show yet. It could not get more awkward. So it's totally on brand, as is this show, as I try to start the watch party. But it's going to be a quick hitter today because my day has been all over the place. And all I'm going to do here is just share my love for the US Postal Service, and then probably get into, because we need to dedicate a whole show to this absolute mess that's going on. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and make a horrible attempt at starting the show with some sort of music. We'll see what ends up happening. Welcome to Hotlou Happy Hour. I'm your host, Lou Abramowski, or somewhat postally known as Hot Lou. And I'm being distracted because of my headphones. So yeah, another day, just perfectly on brand, awkward start to the show without Mike Love. One of these days he'll be back and we'll do amazing things. But, like I said, I just wanted to kind of jump on and talk really briefly about the US Postal Service. A ton of people are ragging on it, but obviously a ton of people are like going out of their way to, gosh, let me start over. I've done this like 7 times today because I've been in continuous meetings for 7.5 hours straight. But there's a lot of people right now working very hard to rescue the Postal Service. And I think there's a handful of people who have been persuaded that for some reason or another, that this is like, the Postal Service is a terrible organization because like they sent out 6 packages in the last like 15 years and a couple of them were late, or they had some other letter that showed up late. And I have to tell you that those are so anecdotal and so rare among the bigger picture here. And I'm speaking as somebody who during the holiday, every single year for 5 straight years, I was shipping out somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10,000 items. And most of the time, most of them would go out in about 72 hours. And that they were delivering almost all of them, including some of them internationally, within the 2 to 3 day priority window. And what I found is that the people who are really against the Postal Service tend to be the people who just don't have enough experience. I actually equate them to the people who complain about like Delta Airlines, or seem to think that one or a couple of the airlines are just like way worse than the others. But what I found is the people who complain about Delta Airlines are the people who just don't travel very often and have never taken a United flight or had a Spirit Airlines flight canceled on them after Spirit lied for 2 hours about the flight being delayed. Thanks for tuning in, Whitney. You're turning into one of the most loyal lunatics out there. And Bliss Body is definitely, I think, benefiting from it, from the Hotlou Empire in big ways, which maybe we'll get into in another show. But as far as the Postal Service goes, like I said, the deliverability rate and the consistency and the accuracy that I dealt with for 5 years, shipping out literally tens of thousands of packages, is like incredible. And for the cost and the fact that all of this, like the ability to actually ship out letters overseas to service members that are in the military is like amazing. And it's I I want to talk in a little bit more detail about just how insane it is that the Postal Service is being attacked right now and how seemingly transparent it is to try to suppress voting. And I shouldn't even say seemingly transparent. Like literally yesterday, Trump outright said that like if there's opportunities to get out there and help the Postal Service, it's going to help Democrats. So by not helping the Postal Service, which is just this like fundamental service that helps run America, um, should be enough reason for people to be outraged. And like there's been a bunch of like outrage moments for me over the last 3.5 years of this administration, but man, this one is just so obvious to me that we absolutely need to be working. Everybody needs to be working for this. And getting kind of back to the airlines and how it's analogous to the Postal Service, because often people are out there like praising FedEx and UPS for being able to deliver at such a, a more reliable rate. What they don't realize is, and, I need resident chief fact checker Josh Kimber to check in here, but I think it's something in the neighborhood of like 70 to 80% of packages that you pay for via FedEx or UPS, for some level of the trip, it is actually managed by the US Postal Service. So in some ways, you're not doing a whole lot by shipping with FedEx or UPS to differentiate from US Postal Service, other than some of the front end stuff and some of the additional tracking things that they have, or insurance. So, there's really not a lot of difference happening there. And, to hear people often talk about they'll never use the Postal Service because it's like this garbage organization compared to like a FedEx or UPS, not realizing that you're just like, you're using the US Postal Service and you just don't even know it. And some of the other things that people don't really realize is that, the US Postal Service was like not really, your tax dollars don't go to running the Postal Service. And you know what? I don't want to get some of these details wrong. So I'm going to actually put some show notes some show notes to talk about some of these things, like the fact that it isn't really your taxes that run the US Postal Service. Stuff that happened in the 2000s that are now causing some of the financial crunches that the US Postal Service is going through, because it's not actually a problem with just your ordinary services that you get from the Postal Service. And then obviously all the absolute craziness that's been happening. But I just wanted to share my love for the US Postal Service, because that was really when I started shipping out all those packages from like 2009 to 2014 or 2013. It was clear to me because I would pack up these like 10,000 items, and somebody with a truck and a cart would show up at my apartment and take all of the packages. So I didn't even need to bring them anywhere. I just packed them in my house, and literally the Postal Service showed up, took them, and they were delivered within 2 to 3 days everywhere in the United States. And one of those years, it was like I went through there was some absolute madness to get the actual children's book that we were shipping out together in time. And I ended up staying awake for 3 straight days to pack all of these items. And the reason I did that is because we had promised delivery by Christmas, and we got everything in the mail by December 21st. And all but like literally like 10 of the items got delivered domestically at the busiest time of the year for the US Postal Service. Like all but just a couple of them actually ended up arriving on time. And I've just been a huge fan. I love the US Postal Service. And I think it's like people really just undervalue what that's like or what it really means for America. And especially now that mail-in voting is happening, and I keep saying I'm not going to get into it, but like, you know, mail-in voting is absentee voting. The only difference is for absentee voting, you needed an excuse. And now for mail-in voting, you do not. So there's really no difference. But now that our president has straight up said that one of the reasons that he doesn't want to bail them out is because it's going to help the Democrats, like that. I mean, I think that should just outrage people. And there is some outrage, but like not enough. And I don't know. Lunatics, let me know in the comments here if you agree. Or you know what, I'll throw a poll and then we'll kind of wrap things up. Do you how do you feel about the US Postal Service? Love them, hate them, indifferent? So I'll throw this poll up here because I'd love to hear your thoughts, Lunatics. And if you don't see the poll that just popped up, you should be able to leave a comment here. Yeah, it's amazing that you can, like, loyal lunatic Katie Bourne's checking in here saying that she loves USPS and like almost always less than 24 hours to deliver across the country. Yeah, you can make that happen for a ridiculously small price. And, you know, like mailing a letter costs, you know, literally pennies, and you can mail a letter somewhere like, you know, within state, you can get something, you know, mailed, you know, whether it's a Menards 11% rebate coupon or something else, and that you can rely on it is just like amazing. So I love USPS. I hope you lunatics feel the same way. I'm going to dedicate a whole show to that. And I just wanted to make sure I came on and talked about that really briefly and, you know, tease the fact that we're going to have another show on this. And to talk about yesterday's show, because it was fun. Mike Loaf, my co-host that's kind of MIA for August here, joined me, and we had a really great conversation with Dan Jasper from the Mall of America's communications team, straight from Nickelodeon Universe, about all the safety measures that they're taking. So, you know, obviously you can go to the Facebook page here to find it, but often it's easier to find the old videos on YouTube, which I'm going to remind you again, head over to YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell, get a notification when the new videos come out, and just go back and like look at some of the old episodes. There's a handful in there that people are watching. There's also a bunch of videos up there that have 0 views, but yeah, subscribe, like, share, start your watch parties on Facebook. Appreciate you watching. Tomorrow's show will probably be kind of a more fun show. It'll be quick by myself too, but next week I think we're Mike and I will have a handful of shows put together. And again, and as always, if you're looking for something on the show, leave it as a comment. So anyway, very, very quick show here today because Hotlou's got a million things to do, but I definitely wanted to check in to talk about this one thing that is making me outraged. I'm hiding all of my pain and suffering right now. So with that, thanks everybody for tuning into today's very brief Hotlou Happy Hour. I'm your host,